It's hard for me to follow my students and all the wonderful things they just said. When I tell people what I do for a living, their responses are usually something like, whoa, really? Teenagers, huh? What's that like? I could never do that. But I smile at their shock because I know something that they don't know, that my job is the best. Teaching English at Pacifica has been one of the greatest joys of my life, genuinely. To share with you tonight is an honor because I owe each of you so much. Students, faculty, family, administration, donors. So I'm honored to be here tonight and talk to you. For the past few weeks, I've been trying to think where that joy comes from specifically. What is it about Pacifica that makes me so joyful and so many other students joyful? And tonight I propose that joy in education comes from pursuing a meaningful challenge in a community where you are known and loved. That first part, pursuing a meaningful challenge. At Pacifica, we're pursuing a fairly anomalous endeavor for the 21st century in Newport Beach. Upon entering my freshman ancient literature class, I hand your 14-year-olds a copy of the Odyssey, and I say, we will read this. And then I give them a list of 40-odd Greek words, and I say, we will be using these. And the most shocking part of it is that we do it. They read the entire Odyssey, and they learn the Greek words, hubris, hamartia, thumos, and they use them. And then we pick up the Aeneid and we do it all over again in Latin. Our way of teaching is decidedly countercultural and looks decidedly different than other classrooms. But because our mission is so different from other schools, our practice has to be too. Our mission is to help mold human beings of substance, young men and women of depth who pursue depth and understanding, depths of faith, depths of love, depths of service, depths of sacrifice. We are pursuing students who are humble in success, resilient after failure. We are aiming for lofty goals, my friends. So we need some hardy companions. Homer, Dante, Christine de Pizan, John Milton, Frederick Douglass, Flannery O'Connor, Jana Dematz, David O'Neill. We need them all. Believe me, there are plenty of days where the students and I want an easier task. There are days where an hour-long discussion on a 2,000-year-old book is positively intimidating. But over time, we all learn that an hour-long Socratic seminar achieves growth, truth, and wisdom in a way that other activities cannot. Take, for example, earlier this year, when I asked the freshman class, is Oedipus a good king? A complicated question if there ever was one, and if you know the story. But in that discussion, we inevitably disagreed with each other. We got our beliefs challenged. We stepped on each other's toes. We were asked to define our terms to the upteenth degree. What really is good? Asking, is Oedipus a good king, becomes, what is a leader meant to do? How should someone lead? What do you do if you disagree with your leader? How can I be a good leader? These questions bring up thoughts of duty, honor, sacrifice, and service that no worksheet could ever achieve. And so, we don't challenge ourselves just because it's there. We challenge ourselves because there is truth, goodness, and beauty to be found when we dive fully into something, when we sacrifice for a greater purpose. Viktor Frankl was an Austrian psychologist and Holocaust survivor. After the research, he used his experience within the concentration camps and his own educational experience to help those who had also survived that experience find meaning in their extraordinary suffering. Frankl famously critiques society's insistence that we need to, quote unquote, find ourselves, when he says, man is originally characterized by his search for meaning rather than his search for himself. The more he forgets himself, giving himself to a cause or another person, the more human he is. And the more he is immersed and absorbed in something or someone other than himself, the more he really becomes himself. This is the great paradox of the Christian life, is it not? And we see this reflected in Pacifica every day. We follow Christ, who sacrificed his life for us, and in turn we give our lives in submission to him. Yet in sacrificing we gain. In giving ourselves over to something, we find there's more to give. In pursuing the challenge with all of our strength, we find there's more to pursue, but there's more strength to pursue it. And we thank God for this divine economy that you all so generously have participated in. The second part that I think is necessary for a joyful education is to do it in a community where you are known and loved. In one sense, it's hard to speak to you tonight because there is so much about the joy of Pacifica that is sort of inexplicable because we know each other. Your students have often brought me to tears of laughter, and if I explained you why, you wouldn't understand it. I could tell you about Daniela dragging Robbie to the dance floor, but unless you know the two parties, the story won't really hit home. Which is why the first laughs were from the audience, the students out there. And while it's funny to think of a school teacher performing a goofy skit, I don't even know how to explain to you why Reverend Stratton's rendition of a geriatric in an aerobics class is one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my life. Tears were streaming down my face. Kelly Murphy has created his own language, written and spoken. The Motsky siblings have the best handwriting you've ever seen in your life. I think Maggie has memorized everybody's birthday. Mr. Bellum has strong feelings about the most recent Star Wars movie. I could go on and on for hours, all day. We do, we talk about it for hours. The idiosyncratic things that bring us joy daily. We know each other. We have eaten an endless number of peanut butter and jelly sandwiches together at the lunch tables. We've painted our faces blue. We've dyed our hair orange at retreat. We've watched each other succeed and fail in athletic endeavors, college applications, sometimes relationships. We laugh all the time. We cry together. Some seniors and I cried together heartily yesterday. We disagree. We give each other space to be ourselves. We strive to show grace to one another. And this allows for the mission of Pacifica to succeed, because it is only in community that we are motivated and equipped to pursue the God-centered life. Theologian and author Timothy Keller says, "To be loved but not known is comforting but superficial. To be known and not loved is our greatest fear. But to be fully known and truly loved is, well, a lot like being loved by God. It's what we need more than anything. It liberates us from pretense, humbles us out of our self-righteousness, and fortifies us for any difficulty that life can throw at us. We do not love each other perfectly. There are plenty of bumps and bruises along the way, but the journey is better for having been taken together. Amen? We have each other to remind each other of the truth, to remind each other what we're searching for, and to keep looking forward in hope. And that is why we are here tonight, to recount the miracles that have taken place in our community as we pursue the meaningful life together, and to look hopefully to the horizon. The horizon is bright. There are many miracles to reflect upon. The vision of a group of leaders over 10 years ago to found the original Pacifica, the partnering of donors with a yet unmaterialized mission, the trust of families' children at a school without a building, the purchase of a building that all of us had been praying circles around for the whole year, if you guys had seen us when we found out. We are thankful for the healing of loved ones. We are thankful for the repair of fractured identities. We are thankful for the creation of a community that loves one another. It is easy to take things for granted and to get lost in the busyness of daily life. But tonight, let's pause to celebrate and say thank you to all of you for helping build Pacifica. It is because of you all, families, donors, faculty, staff, and my students out there, that I and the rest of our community are being given a great gift of joy. By looking back at God's mercy this year, may we all be filled with hope as we look to the future. I want to end with the words of Psalm 121 as we look forward into the future. I lift my eyes up to the hills. Where does my help come? My help comes from the Lord, who made heaven and earth. The Lord will keep your going out and your coming in from this time forth and forevermore. Thank you very much.